So, little introduction. Welcome to the 100th episode.
Come on, let's go.
Of the 100% podcast. Today, I'm welcoming back to the show two-time master coach of the year.
Come on.
My coach, which I'm incredibly proud to say over the last 2 years. He is a transformer of many people's lives, Mr. Paul Mort.
Come on, mate.
Welcome
what
to
a
the show,
fucking intro.
man.
Thank you so much, mate. I'm so glad you're here. I feel like I should be popping a bottle of champagne.
I would be, but the alcohol front for me at the moment is on the back burner as we had a little bit of a chat. And
too.
you are smashing it on that front.
Me too, aye.
Can you believe it's been 2 years since you came on the show for the first time?
No, really?
2 years. Yeah.
But not only can I not believe it, I've kind of just expressed me disbelief at it. That's mad. 2 years.
2 years.
Sheesh, I
So
suppose time flies.
It was August, saying that, 18 months. So 20th of August 2021. And I would have been a very new client of yours at the time. So I've watched back that episode a few times and I'm like, wow, I've changed. My all-round aura and personality's changed.
Come on.
So I hope to bring that to you on the podcast
Let's
today,
fucking go, mate. I'm ready. That means you're going to ask me the really uncomfortable questions, isn't it?
Well, I actually have one of them wrote down. I'm going to start with it. I had your amazing wife on my podcast. She delivered some incredible value, as there is no surprise there.
Well, mate, I seen a clip of that and I was like, ooh. One of me oldest friends sent me the clip. They're like, I've just watched this. It made us cry. I was like, what clip? She was like, oh, the one with Leslie. I'd forgot she'd even done it. Because obviously we have very busy lives, so we'll miss things like that.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was like, Jesus Christ. It was the part where you might cover it anyway.
So I asked Leslie what she did and what others could do to support people with mental health, and obviously to the point where you got to, which was suicidal and having suicidal thoughts. And she turned around and basically said that the tricky thing is, and she didn't want to say it, but it was hard for her to say on the podcast, was there was nothing really she could do. That was the hardest thing for her to have had to accept. And for you to have watched that back, it must have...
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I felt helpless. Clearly wasn't. And she felt helpless because she was probably, it's interesting. If I think about it, she was more helpless than me because I'm responsible for myself. So I'm not helpless, which means I can do something. She couldn't really do that much. I mean, I don't know if she said, but she was on the phone all the time to fucking suicide watch team. She was on the phone all the time to the crisis team, the mental health crisis team. She's on the phone all the time to the doctors and shrinks, and she's forcing me to go to all these things. But still nothing's really changing because it's me that's responsible for that, not her.
And that is one of the biggest lessons that you put across within your coaching, isn't it? Is taking responsibility.
Full responsibility.
Why is it that you think people don't grasp that straight away? I've been there. And to be honest with you, Paul, when I first had that introduction with you and chats with you, when it started when I'd reply to something on your story and you'd reply and you'd be like, look, this is normal, do this, do that, take control, put your attention elsewhere.
Yeah.
And luckily, I guess, I kind of got that concept quite well straight away.
Coachable.
Yeah. What's the difference between a coachable client and a non-coachable client for you?
Blame. Ultimately, anyone that doesn't want to take responsibility, it's actually, do you know what? It's because it's quite hard.
Yeah.
It's because it's quite hard. You think about it, it's way easier to blame someone else for what you do. Or what I'm saying now is blaming something else. Or I'm blaming my past. That's why I'm almost now, people are so obsessed with talking about the past. And I'm almost like, you're kind of just looking for something to blame for your behaviour. I get looking at it. I get looking for the insights. I get looking at why you do certain things. But I see there's too many people who are not changing as a result of that. They're just, oh, well, I learned that from my parents. But what you're going to do nothing about? Well, no, me past. And I'm like, your past doesn't equal your future. So the reason people don't like taking responsibility ultimately is because it's hard. It's easier to blame someone else and admit it's partly your fault. But also, I think for some people, they get kind of responsibility mixed up with blame, like, because you can blame yourself and that can ultimately make you feel like more of a victim than blaming somebody else, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because ultimately, blame's the war cry of someone that is seeing themselves as a victim, feeling like a victim, they continue to act like a victim, which means they continue to stay a victim. So sometimes when we when we are like, I get it now. I played a part in that. Some people go, oh, that means it was my fault. And some people go, oh, shit, that means it was my fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, light bulb moment.
Yeah, light bulb moment. And that means I can do something about it. Whereas some people are like, oh, it was my fault and I can't do anything about it.
There's something...
It's just a different frame.
Yeah, and there's something really weird about identifying the fact that you're in a victim mentality, which is the phrase that you use to describe it.
I kind of don't like using that word because victim feels a bit harsh. Victim feels a bit hard.
But ultimately, it kind of is the all-round... If you was to use English to describe what it is you're doing, you are playing the victim to something.
Everything happens to me. It's always me. People always do this to me. The world's out to get me. Life always fucks me over. People are always stabbing me in the back. Do you know what? Everyone's a fucking narcissist now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone else is toxic.
Yeah.
It's ultimately blaming everyone else, and you're right, mate, about that victim mindset.
And what must be frustrating, especially for you as a coach, when you and I come from a place of a coach that you just want the best for whoever you work with, right? But when they've got when somebody has a victim mentality and they're protecting the victim mentality, it becomes harder for you to then coach.
It does, mate. And part of us is, and this was certainly me, having been shown another way seems harder. And part of us is, well, if I drop this, what am I going to lose?
Yeah.
I knew that deep down, the things that I was doing was to get attention, to get affection. There were cries for help. I wanted to feel significant. Most of us just want to feel significant.
Yeah.
We want to feel love. We want to feel significant. And we don't know any other way to do it if we're not playing. You think about when something bad happens to us, what do we get from people? Sympathy.
Yeah, that's true.
And suddenly we're like, oh, that feels nice. I mean, why else would I post that at Tony Peck? No one needed to know. No one needed to know. And then I put it on. And people started commenting. People started saying, I hope you get better. And then I'm like, oh, there's an email in this. So I know that. I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing this so I get some sympathy. And then some people you get kind of addicted to it. And it's normal because we all want to feel significant. There's just different ways to get it. Like if I want to feel some love, I just ask.
It's no different to putting
I give it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's no different to putting a banging post out on social media and feeling the response from everybody. Yeah. It feels nice for a minute, but it's really important to not rely on that feeling of significance.
That's what it is. It's significant. I feel significant. When people say shit like, you've only posted this for attention. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why you post anything, mate. That's what you think about. That's what social media is. You post something, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whether it's you feel disempowered, whatever it is, you're doing it to get attention. Full stop.
Yeah.
Once I kind of started figuring that out, human behavior, why I do what I do, I'm like, oh well, actually, maybe there's healthier ways to get significance. Maybe there's healthier ways to feel like I'm contributing. Maybe there's healthier ways to feel important. Maybe there's healthier ways to feel loved.
Yeah, what is the healthiest way for you to feel loved at the moment then, Paul?
Give it. Yeah, the same as significance. That's why I'm always gassing people up. Yeah. I didn't know this. I didn't know that I did this. And then one of my oldest friends, Chris Brown, said, you're always fucking gassing people up in your DMs and in your stories and that. I'm like, am I? He's like, yeah, you're always doing it. I'm like, shit, that's mad. Because it makes me feel, I know that it's going to, and I remember James Smith, I would say, I worked with him in 2014. I went for coffee with him probably 2017, 2018. And I came out of that coffee, all he did was blow smoke with my arse for ages, right? And I didn't realise that I was having that impact. Because a lot of people, it impact their life and you won't even get a thank you from them.
Yeah.
Because you're not. And to be fair, I don't change anyone's life. I don't transform anyone's life. I just hold the space for them. I facilitate it and I give them tools and support. I don't do the work.
Well, I think this is a nice place for me to put in that I always wanted you to have the 100th episode of the Harry Purdy, the Grassroots Guy podcast, the 100% podcast is what it is.
Yeah.
Because, mate, I can genuinely say, as much as you say you haven't changed my life, yeah, you have, man. You have.
It wasn't me. You did the change. Yeah. You made the change. You changed, not me.
And I wanted to hold the place in the diary for you.
Yeah.
And one thing, just going back to the social media perspective, is one thing that I've learned recently, and I've been only putting my coaching and my podcast out there for 2 years. I say only, that's a long time. We've hit the 100th episode. It's a hell of an achievement, really, if I was to step back and...
It's more than me.
Take a look. Well, yeah.
It's more than me.
But you've got a lot of other things going on, my guy. Is that it's really interesting. So the other day I posted about me being the worst podcaster ever, which again we could link in with today's scenario as well. It's not
That's worst timekeeper.
worst timekeeper ever. Yeah,
I bet that's coming from me. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Oh man. But what was interesting from that is that post got more engagement than me posting something positive about one of my clients or something that I'd achieved. Yeah. It got more, like the podcast attention got more because I was negative about it. So that's really interesting about social media, isn't it?
Yeah, because you got to think about it. I've actually just recorded for you guys a marketing training. And I'm talking about one of the things you got to be able to do if you want to influence people. You've got to know what already influences them.
Yeah.
But you've also got to enter the conversation in their head. And most people aren't having positive conversations in their head. So we can post all the positive comments we like and all the positive posts we like. But for most people, it's not going to resonate with them because they're not there. I've got to meet people where they're at, aspiration. I've got a lot of time for aspirational content, aspirational posts, aspirational talks, aspirational keynotes. But ultimately, if you don't meet people where they're at, they're like, well, that's not realistic for me. So you meet people where they're at, you enter the conversations with their head, and 99 times out of 100, that is negative. That's not feeling good about yourself. That is feeling disempowered. That's feeling confused. That's feeling less than. So you meet people there and it resonates with them. Misery loves company, right? Yeah, you got to think about that. So listen, I've got a lot of respect and a lot of time for what a lot of these mental health groups do, but I can't be in them. I can't be in them because there's nothing that, I'm not saying it's all of them, but a lot of them I'm in them and all I'm seeing is people feeling sorry for themselves. And I get it. It's nice to know that you're not alone, but I'm like, surely there's more than this. Surely you got to give me something to do to feel different. Surely you got to feed my brain a better diet than that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I spoke on Adam Proud's podcast, who works with Luke Harrison, yesterday, and I was trying to define the percentage of what talking about your mental health actually is in the whole equation.
Yeah.
And I said it's 20 to 25% max. Mm-hmm. The fact that you are self-aware enough to know that you're not feeling yourself or quite right at the moment is good.
Yeah.
But then you've got 75% of the
What's
getting...
next?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you think about when you usually talk about your mental health, you're talking about what you don't want.
For sure.
And at some point, there has to be a shift out of what you don't want into what you do want. Because if the focus stays on what you don't want, you get more of the same. What you add attention to, you add momentum to.
Yeah.
So if I keep talking about what I don't want and how I don't want to feel, it's changing nothing. It's just reaffirming the fact. I remember when I was at that rock bottom phase, I would say early 2014, before I was quite suicidal, before I was quite there, I'd see shrinks all the time. Mood diary, right? Have you tried keeping a mood diary? I'm like, yeah, it asks me how I'm feeling and I write down shit.
Yeah.
And it just reaffirms the fact that I feel like shit. It doesn't change anything. In fact, ultimately it reconfirms that I feel shit. And do you know what I mean? I just keep going around in circles. This is the problem a lot of the time with talking therapy. You just go around in circles and how you don't want to feel and your past that you can't change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's and something you said the other day is like, and it's nothing against therapists because look, they do help people, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, but they do want you to keep coming back. They want your money, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, for sure. In regards to what you said about meeting people where they're at, which is thinking negatively, on the first podcast I did with you, I didn't really have the balls to say where my journey had started. And I remember vividly, I was not in a very good place whatsoever, crying on Christmas Day, and I was having negative thoughts and what's known as intrusive thoughts. Yeah. So like proper down in the dumps, not very happy. And to meet somebody there and explain to them that that's normal and you need to change your focus. For somebody who's listening to this podcast today that's experiencing really negative thoughts, potentially like verging on suicidal and having intrusive thoughts about things that they never thought that they'd ever realize that they were going to get, which is where I was at. Yeah. What would you say to that person?
Well, so first of all, we've got to understand that thoughts just don't come from nowhere, right? A lot of our thoughts are beliefs, and beliefs are just things that we thought so many times that we think are true. But usually those beliefs come from somewhere else. So I would say the first thing you've got to consider is you are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
I realize that I'm not my thoughts. My thoughts are just my thoughts. They come from somewhere. Usually they'll be the result of an experience or a feeling might be the result. So we have this thing where we have a thought, we make a decision, we take an action, we get an experience as a result of that action, and then the feeling and the emotion is the kind of end product of that experience. So we get stuck in this circle of thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling. So at some point, again, we have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about this. This is not happening to you. I believe that a lot of those thoughts for me are an alarm clock. They're just a fucking alarm clock. They're just feedback. And the feedback is the thoughts are trying to get my attention. And the attention is, where is your attention? What am I focused on here? And I think, do you know what I see a lot of the time, Harry? As I think often we become obsessed with the why. And I think there's a place for the why, because I think if we understand the why, the how and the work becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But I think obsessing over the why, most of the time it's just a fucking guess anyway. Why did that happen? And why did this happen? And why? And actually, for most people, the why doesn't change fucking anything. The why can often make it feel worse. So I'm like, what am I focused on here? And if I'm thinking about shit that I don't want and how I don't want to feel, ultimately, I've got to just be like, okay, well, what do I want? What do I want to feel? And I always get an answer that I get quite a lot of the time, because obviously I'm dealing with a fucking lot of people on this shit. A lot of people. Is when I ask people what they want, they tell me they don't know.
Mm.
And then I had this thought, only about 6 weeks ago maybe, Harry, when I was on holiday actually when I thought this thought. And I'm like, for people that don't know what they want, I believe that everyone knows what they want.
Yeah.
It's just hidden behind loads of stories. It's hidden behind loads of reasons. It's hidden behind excuses. It's hidden behind the memories of the past. It's just hidden.
Right? I want this, but
uncovering it. I can't have it, and all this, but so uncovering it. But I'm like, what if actually the pain that you're in is coming from being focused on what you don't want? What if what you don't want is like what if it's a compass that's pointing you towards what you do want? Because what you don't want tends to be the opposite of what you do want. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to feel angry. Okay, so how do you want to feel? I don't know. All right, well, what do you not want? Well, I don't want to feel angry. All right, what's the opposite of angry then? That's what you want. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to be lonely. Okay, well, what do you want to be? I want to feel connected, maybe. They're not going to say that, because we almost get addicted to how we don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Because you get caught up and there's no logic here. There's no logic when you're there. So I'm like, what if how you don't want to feel, what you don't want in your life, the thoughts you don't want to be having, were just like a signpost to guide you towards what you do want, and what you do want is just the opposite.
Definitely.
Because when you're like that, mate, when you're sucked up on all that negativity and that darkness and that, it's really hard to focus on what you want, because you can't see beyond the now. You think that it's going to be winter forever.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? You think that winter's coming and winter's fucking not going anywhere.
Nah.
You can't see the summer when it's winter. So sometimes focusing on what you don't want is, like I say, the pointer, the alarm clock, the compass that lets you know what you do want. But I can't stop thinking about this at the minute.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah. I haven't quite got my head around the whole thing in a way that I can describe it as succinctly as I can describe other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I'm stumbling over it.
Nice.
I'm still figuring it out. We're getting an exclusive. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still kind of letting it marinate.
Yeah.
Like the recipe's not quite ready, is what I'm saying. I haven't perfected the recipe of explaining it. It makes sense, all right?
Well, definitely. Yeah. One thing that I'd love to ask you, just to get that not balanced opinion, but obviously meditation plays a big part in your life, right? And within meditating, it's about accepting the fact that you may be feeling or thinking a certain way at that certain time, and being present in the moment with your breath. Mm-hmm. So in Paul Mort's life, I think I know where you're going to go with this anyway, but it's important for the listeners to know, when you do feel a little bit flatter than normal, a little bit anxious, I've been on a call with you where you've told me that it's important that you don't compare your highest state to where you're at now. But in terms of accepting that state and accepting that moment of not being at 100%, we'll use that on the podcast today, where do you stand with that?
Well, so the thing is, acceptance, the word acceptance and the word accepted, it kind of gets a bit of a bad rap because it indicates what? That you're just going to give up.
Happy with it.
No point. No point. Apathetic.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing anything about this. Like inertia.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not true. Acceptance for me means this is where I'm at, but it doesn't mean I have to stay there.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. I'm not going to pick a fight with it, but I've got two options then. I've got two options. Argue with it mentally or change it. So I'll accept it. I'll be like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, but how do I want to feel? And then I don't want to feel like shit for any longer than I have to. Why would I?
Yeah.
I think that acceptance gets a bit of a bad rap, but also I think a lot of people play on it too much. Why would I want to feel like that for any longer than I have to? And if I can get out of that state in a healthy way, in a way that serves me, why wouldn't I? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay to feel depressed. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's okay not to be okay. I'm like, yeah, it is. What's not okay is fucking staying there because you think you have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
You have to support it with the actions that you're taking, right? Yeah. To get out of
So you
that
got two
loop.
options. You can accept it and do nothing. You can argue with it and do nothing, or you can change it.
Yeah, amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was thinking yesterday, usually we think about this, right? I learned this from Tony Robbins back in the day. You've got how I'm feeling is usually a result of life circumstances not meeting my blueprint, or life or reality not meeting my pictures of how I think it should be, right? So he always says, like, you've got two options here. You can either change your blueprint of how you want it to be. In other words, accept it and just be like, yeah, this is the way it is. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Or lower my expectations if you like. Or you can be like, okay, then if I'm not willing to change my blueprint of what I want, then I have to do something about the life circumstances. The challenge that people start having is when they think their life doesn't meet their pictures, or their life circumstance doesn't meet their blueprint, and they think they can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm of the opinion, why would I want to feel the way that I don't want to feel for any longer than I have to, if I know how to shift it? Like, why would I have to?
I think
The longer I stay there, the harder it is to get out.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
The longer I stay in that disempowered state, the harder it is to get out.
So there's like a mix between, okay, acknowledge this, accept the feeling, but what can I do personally to get out of it?
What am I willing to do?
What am I willing to do? Yeah.
Because a lot of things that you can do. What am I willing to do? Why would I want to stay like that for any longer than I have to? But also, I think there's some value in, Harry, in actually knowing the emotion. A lot of people think they're depressed, and actually they're just fucking exhausted.
Do you know what?
Of course you're fucking exhausted, man.
Yeah.
You've been on the fucking sesh all weekend. You've had no fucking sleep. You're not depressed. You're fucking exhausted, man.
And
you're run down.
Links in with a podcast.
Sometimes you're just ill.
Yeah, exactly that. And it links in with what I spoke to Mia, who is in the inner circle, about on the previous podcast. Is there's so many distractions now, right? You're never really resting. So with all of the distractions, all of the things that you're doing in life, without taking a genuine bit of time out for yourself, sleeping properly, at the end of the day, you're going to feel tired. And I'm not scared to admit it. When I was in that low kind of period of my life where I didn't really know what was going on, I couldn't work out what actions I was going to take to get out of it because I'd not had the training, if you like.
A lot of the time, Harry, as well, though, we don't want to look at the actions that led us there.
Well, exactly that, man. I was unhealthier than what I am now.
Yeah.
I was playing more, like I was doing stuff that is out of my routine now. But my mum always used to say to me when I'd get upset and I'd be like, oh, I'm just feeling like shit again or whatever, she'd go, you're tired. 90% of the time, you're tired. And
listen, you don't get in a state by accident.
Yeah.
That's all these things are, states. I didn't end up on that cliff by accident. It would have been easy for me to say that I did because, remember, I've been diagnosed bipolar. Oh, it's not my fault. I've got bipolar. Well, actually, when I manage my lifestyle, bipolar is not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing for me. When my lifestyle's all over the place and when I'm doing things that are what you would call as what I would consider not productive,
Yeah.
then, funnily enough, bipolar becomes an issue for me. Do you know what I mean? You don't end up in these places. Where am I? Mentally and physically, financially, in my relationships is a lag effect of my habits. Full stop. And people don't want to accept that. No one wants to talk about it either. It's been a problem with a lot of this mental health stuff. Talking about how you feel is okay. No one wants to talk about how they fucking got there, though. They don't want to talk about what their actions that they're taking that have led them there. Because it's almost like we feel bad asking people, what are you doing that's making you feel like that then?
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Feelings are an end result of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mad, yeah.
They are the byproduct of other things.
And that leads to one of the first ever coaching methods that you taught me was the happiness bucket
Mate, mad shit for you here. So I've just started a new Unstartable 28, the last one ever. And in that first session, you'll know this, happiness buffet. Happiness buffet, yeah. And there's a show right now, it's actually a theatre show, and it's called Every Brilliant Thing. And I watched 3/4 of it last night. It's amazing. It's about this guy whose mother was suicidal for almost her whole life. And when he was a kid, up until he was about 16, he used to just he made a list of 1,000 things that were brilliant.
Wow.
So when he was a kid, it was like ice cream, things with stripes, like random things. Then it started being like bed, and then it started being what was it? Shaking your keys to get the penguins to come out in the zoo or something. There's just lots. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of different things, and I was like, wow, that's mad. I started a new one, Stepple 28 this week. And this guy it's an amazing show. I'd highly recommend it. It's on Sky Documentaries or something.
Yeah, I have to watch that.
It's a one-man theatre show where he actually gets the people at the theatre, so the crowd, the attendees, he puts them in the show. They don't know they're going to be in it. And he's like, when I say 312, I want you to read this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's mad.
That's pretty cool. Just off the top of my head then, what are the top 5 things in your happiness buffet?
Ooh. So things that I value highly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give the big ones, the massive ones, like traveling with my family, because that's not something I can do all the time. I mean, I do it a lot. I would say jiu-jitsu, football, live football in particular. I would say being outside, walking.
Yeah.
I would say sex will be in there.
Good on, boy.
Sex will be in
there.
You
got a t-shirt on, man. It's got to be said.
Little mix of music in the car.
Amazing. That's so cool. Yeah. And the thing is, like, there's a reason
ice baths. I love the cold. I love ice baths. I love being around people. I love serving people. Yeah, I could list that. Goes on. List that shit all day.
I did 10 minutes in the North Sea this morning with Luke Harrison.
Oh, class.
Man. Wow. Class. That was cold. Yeah. That was so much different than a cold shower.
Fucking me, it's not even cold.
Wow, it was cold for Harry.
Imagine when we're doing that, and we have guys in there in January, December. Yeah.
It was the first time I felt the stinging. In the shower, you don't really get it, do you? As much as you've just
because you're not in the same place for long enough.
That's it.
That's partly why sometimes the shower's cold, like worse than the sea.
Yeah, I find
the shower worse than the sea. It's because you're not staying still, but then you don't get the sting.
But just on a little tangent away from the cold. Yeah. What I wanted to say from that was it was the first real hallelujah light bulb, and whatever you want to call it, with your coaching for me was hold on a minute. I've literally wrote down this list that's like 50 things long at least that I love doing.
Maybe there's a faster way to do it now that I've figured out, because I created that course 2019 maybe, and that happiness list is great, right? But what I figured out is that actually you can feel happier just by thinking a different thought.
Bit like Peter Pan.
Yeah. You can legit just think a different thought, mate. Like legit, if we think about it, happiness is an action, right? It's an emotion. And again, an emotion is the end result of an experience. But actually, I can change the way that I feel by thought alone. Wow. I can legit change my body, which is where I experience feelings, by thought alone. Like legitimately, I had to do this with my arm. I cried, not just because it really hurt. I felt the muscle peeling off the bone. Like I felt it scraping off the bone. It's fucking horrific. But then ultimately, you start going down this rabbit hole. I'm supposed to be skydiving in Dubai next week. I'm supposed to be doing this dune bashing thing. I'm supposed to be going to my favourite water park. I'm not going to be able to train jiu-jitsu for fucking months.
Through dark event.
I've got the through dark event I'm not going to be able to do. I'm going to need surgery. It's going to cost me fucking money, that. Because if I want the surgery in the next fucking century, I'm going to have to go private. I'm going to need to take time off work. I've just got all these naughty thoughts. And I'm unhappy and I'm upset. And even, I admitted this in an email, and I told you guys on Monday that I haven't drank for maybe 520 days or something. It's a long time.
Incredible, man.
And I thought about drinking. I legit thought about drinking. I was like, what the fuck's going on? And when I had that thought, I was like, I need to shift this now. So I then started thinking, okay, what opportunities for them? What am I going to allow? What can I do now that I couldn't before? What's the upside in this? What's the positive in this? What's the hidden gift? What have I got to be thankful for? Do you know what I mean?
What is it? The hidden gift?
Well, the hidden gift is, right now, I get to work on some other injuries that I'm having problems with my knees. I've been having the problem with my right knee for ages. It's when I started playing football again, I had a bucket handle tear of the meniscus. It's never quite been right. Like, I can't kneel down. So in jiu-jitsu, when you can't kneel down, it's a bit of a problem, right? Because you got to stand up, and when you stand up, you tend to get swept and all these other things. But at some point, kneeling down I'll have arthritis in that knee. So now I'm like, well, my PT's buzzing. Because he's like, Paul, I'm good about the pec, but we can work on this fucking knee. He says to me now, he watches me gait and how I walk. He said, you can't even walk properly. I'm like, fuck off. He said, I bet you get foot pain and toe pain, do you? I'm like, all the time. He's like, your knee's fucked. And then my hips are all fucked. So I'm getting to work on those. I mean, I actually haven't had a day off training. I told me pec Friday and I haven't had any time off training.
That's insane.
So there's so many hidden gifts. And what did it for me, actually, Friday night, I got back and my son was like, Dad, do you want to watch the new Conor McGregor documentary? First thing you seen, Conor McGregor snapping his ankle. In that same episode, he's doing chin-ups with a full cast on his leg.
Incredible.
It's fucking world champ mindset, innit? I mean, I'm not quite that level. But I'm like, why would I stop moving? There's loads of other things I can do here. Maybe I needed a break from jiu-jitsu. It's weird. I just started feeling like I was improving massively. I was just like, fucking, on Friday night, I was like, fucking hell, I feel good here. It's the first time I felt good this year rolling jiu-jitsu. I was like, fucking hell, I feel good. And then that happened. So there's so many hidden gifts. I sent an email. It's the most responses I've had to an email this year. Saying that's amazing, that mindset's amazing, it's inspirational to be back stronger. That's really helped me. I needed to read that today. Did you write this for me? Like, wow. That's a hidden gift on its own, just being able to help people as a result of my pain.
Incredible, man. And that is the power of changing your perspective, right? It's so
quick.
It's quick.
It's quick. The difference that I've got, Harry, is I've got an unfair advantage. I've done a lot of training.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of reps in. Do you know what I mean? People are like, why are you bench pressing more than me? Because I've been training for 10 years longer than you. So that's what I think about with mindset. Like, your mind, I train it, and I train it every day. Of course I'm fitter than you.
It's one of those things, actually, that I noticed in myself. 2 years ago, something negative would have happened. I'd have been, you've seen me at my worst
full victim.
Yeah. Upset on a call.
This has happened to me.
Yeah.
Why is it happening to me?
For sure. And then you catch yourself, and then you change.
Catch yourself faster.
Yeah.
Faster. In fact, and it doesn't change overnight. There's a question that I saw this morning that I think's for Saturday morning on Unstoppable 20. I just seen it, like, do you think it's a lifelong training thing? I'm like, yeah. Or do you think eventually it'll become autopilot? I said I think eventually it'll become autopilot, but not yet. Because I only started doing this shit in 2014.
Yeah.
I was 34 years old by then.
I think that's the point I was going to make, is for me, obviously 2020, 21, we started working together, and I started working on my mindset and the way that I think.
Yeah.
But even now I get frustrated. I'm like, why am I so annoyed about this thing? Or why am I so upset about this thing? And then I'm like, right, let's work.
Because you forgot your training.
Exactly.
That's all it is. We forget. And we've got to consider, actually, we're wired to think negatively.
Yeah.
We're wired because negative thinking keeps you safe. You know what I mean? Negative thing. If you were crossing the road and you didn't think, I wouldn't have cars are coming, you wouldn't be doing this podcast now. Or you'd be even later.
Yeah, thanks for that.
But you get what I'm saying? We're wired for the first thought to be negative. So it's not a bad thing. I think often you'll see people beating themselves up for thinking negative. They're like, oh, what's wrong with that? Oh, Paul, I just don't feel good enough. I'm like, and what's wrong with that? Not feeling good enough is great.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, oh, man, I get to get even better at this shit. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the biggest challenges I have when people come to me program where they're like, I thought it would be easier than this. And it fucks with them. I'm like, what? You thought you'd be good at something you've never done? Paul, I find journaling hard. I'm like, yeah, you've never done it, you fucking dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Of course it's hard. Paul, I thought meditation would be easier. How many times you done it? 3 times. What? Could you run a marathon after fucking 3 runs? No.
Exactly that.
It's mad. It's men that are the worst. Men have higher expectations of themselves normally.
Which is, funny enough, it's a great little segue. I wrote down on here that, obviously, I remember you saying on a call recently that your ideal target client is there we go. Why, rephrase the question, what do you think are the biggest mistakes men are making for them to need assistance and coaching from somebody like you?
But no one needs it. For a start, no one needs it. The reality is, I have coaches in every area and I don't need any of them, but I want to get better. I want to be further ahead. I want to make faster progress. I want to learn from somebody else's mistakes. I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth from someone that's further ahead than me. It's like nobody needs to do jiu-jitsu privates. But if you do jiu-jitsu privates, you get better faster.
Yeah.
So that's why I have it. So the biggest mistakes that men make, let's just rephrase it. The difference, the mistakes that men are making to lose their shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then me interrupt them and say, actually, listen, I'm here. Let's fucking dance. So I would say number one is they don't have a vision of the future that excites them. So they're constantly either thinking about the past or they feel purposeless, rudderless, aimless. They're just wandering through life hoping to make it a Friday. And then when they do get a Friday, they're getting pissed and they're on the bag and all that kind of shit. So number one, they don't have a clear, compelling vision of the future. Number two, to feel better, they are not, let's just say, not supporting their physical health. Which leads to, if you don't support your physical health, your mental health goes down the pan. The third thing that they probably do is, I was going to say not ask for help, but I actually don't think I think we've got to be willing to help ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? I would say number 3 is probably blame. Probably blaming the wife. They drink because of their wife. They drink because of their kids. They drink because of their past. They're doing whatever they're doing. They're acting the way they do because of their business, for example. Yeah, so those three things. No clear, compelling vision of the future that to work towards. So they're aimless, rudderless, pointless, purposeless, wandering through life and getting thrown around by it, becoming a victim to it. And secondly, they're not nourishing their body. They're not supporting their body. So therefore, their mental health's all over the place. Third thing is blame. Fourth thing, I'd probably say their environment. Amazing, so the people that they're hanging out with, the things that they're consuming probably more than anything, what they're watching, what they're listening to, who they're listening to, what they're reading, what WhatsApp groups they're in, what Facebook, all that kind of shit impacts their mind whether you like it or not. Your mind adapts to the environment that you put it in, just like your body. You keep putting your body in McDonald's, you're going to be fat.
Yeah.
You put your body in the gym long enough, often enough, you'll get in shape. Same with your mind. You keep feeding it shit, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, I believe that's like one of the biggest things that, again,
no one wants to talk about it.
For sure. And one thing I will say, and I don't mind admitting it to you, I had that chat with you on the War Room about Benidorm coming up. And I did crumble but I didn't crumble in a sense that I was peer pressured into doing it. Yeah. I was like, do you know what? Let's just see how I respond to this, right? And I don't regret it, mate. It was enjoyable. But one thing that I'll always say, and is interesting with alcohol especially, is it is so... if you was to say to somebody, 90% of people, mate, the reason that you might not be feeling 100% at the moment or a bit lower is because every weekend...
you're drinking ethanol.
16 pints.
Ethanol, poison.
Well,
ethanol's poison.
It's one of those things, isn't it? If it was, I don't know if you've said this, but I've heard it been said before. If alcohol was created now, it would be banned everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'll happen with vapes. Me and Nina were having a discussion about vapes last night. Vapes will be banned soon.
I completely agree with that.
They're already banned in Thailand, by the way.
Oh, really?
Which is mad considering some of the shit you can buy in Thailand.
What's incredible about vapes is the absolute increase of how people, like, they smoke, they'll have a cigarette, and then they'll wait 40 minutes or an hour if they're a heavy smoker to have another one. Complete.
Non-stop. It's
incredible.
Mad. The kids max's age that are on the vape is mad.
Really?
Mad. They'll get banned, 100%. I've got no doubt about it. Me and Nina were talking last night. It was just vapes. We went for a walk last night. Me and Nina get the neat up. And, because I mean, obviously I'm on 20,000 steps a day. It's a right pain in the ass.
Boy.
Weighted as well, right? 20 kilos on. And so we went out for a walk last night to get that. You had the new Iron Brew, the ice cream Iron Brew? Bro,
is it good?
Fucking lit.
Really?
It's lit. All the Scottish people are losing their shit saying, you're fucking ruining our drink. I'm like, it's not me, mate. You know what I mean? So this Iron Brew, and we got there and didn't have any, but on the way there, we're just seeing fucking broken vapes, empty vapes, the battery packs off the vapes. I was like, these will get fucking banned soon, and we had a big discussion about me and Nina.
It's so hard to pick. It's so hard to hold. No, sorry. It's so much easier to hold on to a bad habit than it is pick up a positive one, isn't it?
It's easy.
And
it's easy. It's convenient. But all bad habits are convenient.
That's so true. And it links in with a post that you did a while back as well, where I think you went in and basically went, yeah.
I would have went in. I would have definitely went in.
It wouldn't have been you if you didn't. Yeah. But you basically said, it was one of those ones that will always stay up here for me. Yeah. This shit ain't sexy. From getting me to Paul Mort 2000 and what year was it you were suicidal? 2014 to Paul Mort 2023, sat here with me today telling me about how insane your coaching program isn't sexy.
No.
And people, like we've said about it as well already in this podcast, that it is difficult, but what are the things that people can do to make it easier for them to hold on to those positive habits rather than link.
So it's really interesting. I had the conversation with, I keep falling off the wagon. I'm like, no, you don't. You choose to get off the wagon. You didn't fall. We're always choosing. And you weren't pushed either. Because listen, we're grown. It's mad that we blame peer pressure. We're fucking grown adults.
Yeah.
What, someone pinned you on the floor and poured booze down your neck? That's acceptable. Unless you know jiu-jitsu and no cunt's doing that to you. right? However, like, that doesn't happen. I'm like, sometimes I like to tell people to just fucking grow up. Some people need to be, mate, fucking grow up, man. Grow up. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming the wagon. Oh, I just went off track. Yeah, you went off track. You decided to make a decision, and you did it because you knew that ultimately it would make you feel better temporarily. That's the thing with bad habits. There's no immediate downside.
That's true.
You get instant gratification, no immediate downside. Whereas good habits, no gratification instantly, usually. But the benefits are more long term, right? Do you get what I'm saying? When you go to the gym, you're in there and it doesn't feel great when you're in there, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I like jiu-jitsu, because it does. Like, you don't go to the gym and get fit. You go to the gym and get sore, especially when you first start. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you drink, you feel great very quickly.
Yeah.
Because the downsides are later. So when it comes to bad habits, I think you've got to... I wouldn't even start good habits until I look at the shit that's going to stop me. At 1,000,000%. I'd be identifying the bad habits. And I'd be honest. What do I get from that? Because every time I ask people, what do you get from that? Guess what I get? Oh, well, nothing. I'm like, fucking bullshit. You wouldn't do it unless you got something from it. So let's get fucking honest here. Well, it makes me feel more confident. Amazing, cool. And then we got to start looking at the good habits. All right, what's the trigger? What's the trigger for the bad habits? Friday. Okay, what's the feeling that you're getting? So it's not the habit that we want, it's the feeling. So, okay, well, that makes me feel relaxed. Amazing. So we know that this is the habit. We know that this is the feeling. We know that this is the trigger. All right, let's have a look at this then. What else can we do? What else can we do to get that same feeling? So for me, I swapped lines of cocaine off my desk in the middle of the day for punching people in the face, boxing. That was my first shift. That's when I first started to realize it wasn't the cocaine that I liked. It wasn't even the smell. It was the buzz that I got from it. It made me feel alive, because at that time, I was on lithium for bipolar, which was fucking awful, brutal drug. And I started getting punched in the face and I got the buzz. So then I'm like, all right, how can I make it harder to partake in the bad habit? How can I make it hard? Is it that I need to make the thing invisible? Is it that I need to not be, do I need to tidy up my environment so I'm not constantly, honestly, my mates, if you're watching this, you know who I'm talking about. In WhatsApp, all I ever see is accumulators, leaked OnlyFans accounts, and pictures of pints. That's all I see. I don't need to see that if I'm not drinking. So how can I make this invisible? How can I make it hard to fall off the wagon? How can I make it hard to decide to step off? And sometimes making it hard could be something like, I'm going to delete all the dealers' numbers. I'm going to, you see this with gamblers. You get banned from gambling. They shut your account down.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Right? So then you've got all that shit. But also, what if I can make the habit vile? So I would never touch a vape. And I was saying this to my wife the other day. I've always hated smoking. I think it's fucking vile. Always hated it. I think I tried smoking once. It was about 14. I was like, this fucking stinks. Tastes disgusting. It makes you smell like a fucking tramp, I think. Right? And that's not something that I value. I was saying to Leslie, it's weird. I've managed to create a frame in my head where I say boozing like that now. I've made it so disgusting in my head. And it's not. It doesn't mean to say that it is. I mean, the frame what I've made boozing mean is so vile that I think about it less. So I'm like, if I do that, I've linked so many downsides to it, like smoking, because I'm like, that stinks. Makes you feel good for a little bit. Stinks. It's unsociable. It's expensive as fuck. There's so many things in there. So I've made it rank. You have to do that with a bad habit. How can I make this habit so rank that I don't want to do it? Or the temptation's less? So I basically write down all the downsides, all of the disadvantages, all of the people it impacts, who else suffers if I do it, all of the downsides, all of the negatives, all of the drawbacks, all of the pain that it causes. And then it's like, ugh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that in a weird way.
And then we got to look at, okay, how can I get this feeling? And essentially with a bad habit, if you're going to stop something, you have to start something else. And I say you've got to fill the void. Because whatever your bad habit is, that fills a void for you. And suddenly you take the bad habit away and you've got a void. That could be time. When people, what are you going to do instead of not drinking? Well, I'm just going to stay in. I'm like, oh, you fuck. You need a better plan. You need a better plan. I did a coaching call with a guy Tuesday. I'm like, mate, your problem is, the reason you can't stop drinking is because you don't have a plan. You're relying on fucking willpower, mate. It doesn't work. You need a strategy and a plan that you get excited about. Because you think about it, stopping anything is boring.
Yeah.
Stopping drinking on its own, boring. That's why you can't do it. Stopping anything indicates that you're losing, that you're missing out on something, that you are losing something, that your life's going to be worse without it if I stop doing that.
FOMO.
So yeah, so you've got to start something else. Now I'm like, why the fuck would I drink? Drinking is boring for me. Sitting in what used to be someone's front room, chatting absolute shit and paying for it.
Mad.
It's mad if you think about it.
When you put that perspective on it,
it's boring.
Crazy.
Someone was like, do you not miss going to the pub? Do you not find it boring without it? I'm like, no, that would be a downgrade for me in terms of my life.
Do you know what the biggest one for me was?
It's a downgrade. When I see people drinking at the match, because you've got to consider people link football with boozing. And I'm like, you'll not find anyone that goes to more football matches than me. Probably in the fucking world, unless you're a reporter.
Yeah.
You probably don't go to many more matches than me. I've got a friend, you'll have seen on Sky Sports, Courtney Sweetman Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
Sheffield United captain. So I've coached Courtney.
Wow.
Courtney's a friend of mine. And I say to her, she's like, Paul, she said to me, she said, Paul, you go to more games than me. And she gets paid by Sky Sports and Talk Sport.
Wow.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
She's like, she'll message us. She'll be like, are you at this game today? Every time she's doing a game, she's like, at this game today. I'm like, no, I'm at a different one. But like, I don't link boozing with that because what I see is, I see people missing most of the fucking game because they're either at the bar or they're on the pisser.
Or giving it big uns to the away.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. But I seen someone the other day, and people like to justify it as well, Harry. It's mad. I seen someone the other day, my friend Chris Williamson, amazing podcaster, and he posted something about not boozing, and someone said, well, actually, some people just drink to enhance their experience and make it even better. I'm like, what, by missing half of it? How's that making it better?
Or overdoing it and throwing up everywhere.
Middle-aged women, I see this at concerts and that. Last night, there was a Beyonce concert on in the Stadium of Light.
Oh, yeah?
And every time there's a concert like that, and there's always someone like Leslie's age, right? Not middle-aged, sorry, Leslie. But like, you know, women that don't get out that often, who just make fucking tits of themselves.
Yeah.
My kids hopefully will have listen, they're going to drink. They're probably going to smoke weed. They're probably going to have a line of coke at some point in their life. They're probably going to do ease. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they're probably going to do it, but I like to think that they've been really put off it. Because they've seen, because we got so many things as families. We're at boxing all the time, me and Max. We're front row for Savannah's next fight.
Oh, wow,
Third
man.
row from the ring, you'll
Incredible.
see one TV. Aye, class. So we've been to so many boxing, UFC, and so much football that they've seen people just making tits of themselves. Grown men asleep in the street. Grown men. Max is like, Dad. And he knows people, he's seen it more than anyone else. People acting like fucking idiots when they're drunk. It's embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
Like literally adults turn into fucking children with nappies. They may as well have nappies on. It's mad.
Incredible.
And then my daughter's seen literally middle-aged women having a piss in the street. Like in full view of people. So it's mad what happens to people. And again, I'm not criticizing people that booze at all. Because I might drink again at some point. I don't know. But ultimately I've made that habit so disgusting in my head that it doesn't mean I'm never going to do it again. But it's like, ooh, no. I think about it way less. I see more. Here's what I see. I see more pain in doing it than pleasure. And that's when you start to make the shift.
Yeah, fair bloody.
Do you know what I mean? I used to think, Harry, I used to think my biggest fear, and most people's biggest fear with not drinking is that their life's going to be boring. Well, is that because that's what you think? People are going to think I'm boring. Like, the reality was I drank because my life was boring.
I remember going to West Ham away this year and I drank 2 cups of tea, one before the game and one at half time, thinking that the experience was going to, not drinking might have made the game boring, but it wasn't the game that was boring, it's just fucking Chelsea at the moment.
Well, I'm going on Thursday, innit?
Yeah, I might see you about. But, mate, we've literally got a couple of minutes left. No
one's knocked on the door yet, mate, so keep going.
Oh, okay, sweet.
We haven't had the knock.
We haven't had the knock. No knock, carry on. So, one of the things you mentioned earlier was that you get coached by a multitude of different people, and I've been really fortunate enough to have connected with a couple of them, i.e. Dax Moy, Chris Brown, Peter Sage, really briefly at Chelsea, funnily enough.
Pete as a G.
Oh, wow. What, made me cry, man.
Did you know I'm at his house?
Yeah, in Tenerife, yeah.
Fuck me, incredible. Took me out with McLaren.
Yeah, but one thing that's, like, you hold the attention of the stage, Dax Moy holds the attention of the stage, Peter Sage, all got that ability, and it's incredible to see it, and it's really like aspirational for where I want to get to. But my question actually is, out of all of these amazing coaches that you've had the pleasure of working with over your time, who's the one that's really impacted you the most?
Ooh. I'll give 2 people. Garrett White woke me the fuck up.
Never heard of
Garrett White, Wake Up Warrior. That was where I went in 2014.
Wow.
That was where I woke the fuck up. He told me, I get some of my style from him, where it's not, you're not amazing, you're a fucking liar. That's what he told me. You're a fucking liar, Paul. You're king of the shitheads. You make all this money, you're the most successful out of all your mates. It's your fucking problem, mate. You're not around anybody that's doing better than you who's going to fucking make you raise your standards. That was Garrett White woke me up. The second biggest, I'll probably say John DiMartini.
Wow, yeah.
Dr. John taught me about values. What people think values are values at all, like honesty, integrity. They're not values, they're social idealisms.
Yeah.
Right? Dr. John taught me about values and stopped me questioning myself and being, well, of course I like that. He taught me about ADHD because I was diagnosed ADHD in 2012, but it's a superpower in that I have attention fucking surplus disorder on the things that I love.
Yeah.
Right? On the things that I value. Third would be Dr. Joe. Dr. Dispenza, fuck me. And they've all came at the perfect time.
Space.
I hate space. But that came at the perfect time for me. because that was me at 100 miles an hour. That was me trying to fucking bend the world to fit me pictures. That was me trying to fucking bend everybody into shape. Dr. Joe's whole meditation thing was at the perfect time in my life. Was at the perfect time in my life. I've started to take my hands off the fucking handbrake a little bit more. My hand's not on the handbrake. I can accelerate without the handbrake on now. It's awesome. So Dr. Joe's, so I'd say them three in that order. The most out of all of them, I don't know. Because I needed them all at different times.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to consider, I've done Tony Robbins, I've worked with Dax, obviously. Chris helped me with my ads back in the day. Nick James helped me a ton of my business. Nick's mum, Nikki V, transformed the way that I think about relationships and women and coaching, actually. So yeah, all of them had a big impact, but those three, I would say top three, because of the times that they came into my life. Mate, I knew about Dr. Joe in 2016.
Wow.
And I was like, this is utter bullshit. This is fucking out there, hippie, woo-woo shit. And then just in 2021, and 2022, last January, I was like, yeah, I need it. This is for me right now when the student's ready to teach our peers.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible way of thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, you said there that he came at the right time.
Yeah.
And you needed to just take your foot off the pedal a little bit and ease into things a little bit more.
I mean, I'm going faster.
Yeah.
I'm going faster with less effort.
It's amazing, isn't it? When you align things up and you make your plan suit you better, right? But one thing that I'd love to know is, it's been 18 months since I last interviewed you. What has changed the most with yourself over the last 18 months? Because I know we're both on this game of trying to grow.
Hell. What has changed the most with myself? I would say my realization that the best part of life is experiences. And when I die, I'm not going to be worrying about the people that were calling me names, the people that are being horrible to me. I'm not going to be worried about the money that I didn't make. I'm not going to be worried about the money that all I'm going to be thinking about is all the experiences that I had. Like, the best part of being human is the experience that you get to have. So my life now is about creating magic moments.
Goosebumps.
Oh, yeah. My life's about creating magic moments. That's what I do. I'm like, what me and my kids have had this drilled into them. They're spoiled a little bit. But I probably make more magic moments than anyone I know. Because I'm like, what's the point in this money? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I invest. I like money. I want to leave my kids a nest egg. I want to retire. I probably won't, all right? But I'm in a position now where I only do the shit that I love doing. I don't do anything that I hate doing anymore. You know what I'm saying? There'll be a few things when, oh, fucking hell, I have to do that. But it's very rare that. Because I built a team, I built my life, and I'm okay making a little bit less money. I'm okay having a little bit less money if I can look back at my life and think, fuck me, that was a ride. And I'm okay with the downsides as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that's changed about me, is that I don't get upset when things don't go my way anymore.
Yeah.
Because everything's not perfect. I don't get upset when shit like this happens. It's an inconvenience. Do you know what I mean? And particularly in 2021, you'll know this, I lost one of my best friends. And he taught me, well, you know when everyone's like, oh, life's short and that. We say it, but we don't do anything about it. We don't. We know that life's short. We know that you only get one shot. We know that you don't get your time back. But we do fuck all about it. We just keep fucking chatting shit. So I'm like, what magic moment have I got happening this week? That's why at the weekend I thought, watching it get. We had a bit of a quiet week last week, actually. I can't remember why. But there wasn't anything that was major for me last week. I had a couple of events that obviously I love doing. And then at the weekend, I just said to Max, I said, Max, I don't think I'm ready for the season to finish. So I was like, can I get tickets for Man United Chelsea? Yeah, that's the closest one. It's on Thursday. We'll go to Dubai Saturday. We'll go with my friends, got a comedy show Friday night where I should have been going to the playoff final. Unfortunately, the fucking Luton Coventry, those two massive clubs are now playing.
Incredible,
for a place in the Premier League.
Got a chance, yeah.
So then we'll go to Dubai, and then I'm like, okay, I'm injured now, I can't train jiu-jitsu. Now I'm already thinking about what we're going to do next. We're going to hike Helvellyn at 3 o'clock in the morning, so we'll finish it for the sunrise on the top of the mountain.
Wow.
Me and my family. So I just want to create these magic moments non-stop. So that those two things. Number one, I'm always looking to create magic in my life. Things that I've mentally taken a photo of. Things that I look back and think. I remember seeing an advert, mate. This is mad. 2021, I saw an advert with Hugh McGregor, and it said it was for Expedia. Right? They obviously want to sell you travel packages, and it said, when you look back at your life, you're going to remember the things you didn't buy or the places you didn't see. And I was like, shit. That advert, I've never seen it again since. I think I've seen it once, but it's in my head.
Yeah.
Are you going to remember the things you didn't buy, or the things you didn't see, or the places you didn't go? Fucking hell.
Yeah. Two of the things that are in my head at the moment is...
and this is part of the reason why people drink so much, Harry.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
They've got nothing else to look forward to, because they haven't created it. So I was like, this happened to me in 2020. I drank twice. I drank for 2 weeks in a row for the first time in 6 years. And I felt like shit. And I wasn't really beating myself up about it because you think about it, it's not really a big deal, is it?
Not really, no.
2 Fridays in a row.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, and I had to figure out, like, why am I doing this? Because I didn't have anything else to look forward to. My Fridays that I'd normally keep busy. Friday used to be my drinking night, my sniffing night. So all the things that I would do on a Friday, jiu-jitsu, climbing with the kids, bowling, the cinema, nice meal, all taken away. So I drank for 2 weeks in a row, and that's when I started to realise about this excitement thing. We need excitement. It's intoxicating excitement and enthusiasm. And honestly, the more enthusiasm you create in your life, the more magnetic you are to these opportunities and these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the last quarter I had was just full of them, and
all you had to do was put a bit of effort in.
Exactly. You've just got to put the things in your diary, right?
Mate, it's mad this week, this week, right? So these things have happened this week. I told me Peck, I can't get the Porsche insured, right? Porsche said they're not insured. Basically, Porsche gave us a free Porsche, right? And that was on their insurance. Like, you need to sort your own insurance out. So we thought we insured. They rang up and said, the insurance company, like, oh, we don't insure Porsches. I was like, well, you have. They're like, well, you need to cancel it and pay the cancellation fee. I'm like, I'm not cancelling it. You insured it. You're cancelling it, not me. So I knew we got it sorted, but now I've got no insurance.
Wow.
Good job, I'm walking everywhere. Then the Jeep that I've still got that I haven't sold, tax has run out on it. So I got a thingy for the last tax. I can't tax it because there's no MOT. Leslie's car broke down this morning.
Oh.
So loads of mad shit's gone wrong this week, but I'm okay with it because last week I was saying to the guys, I said, you know what? Last week was too good for this week not to be mental. You know what I mean? Last week was all ups.
Yeah.
And then Friday came, and that's why I'm okay with it. Because I'm like, last week was way too positive. I'm just getting humbled this week, that's all. Being reminded that it's not all upsides, it's not all positive, it's not all comfort.
And that's important, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It just means I don't get too emotional. I don't get too high and I don't get too low. I remember talking to Rob Blackburn and Luke O'Neill about this. They were like, the difference between someone that's often, the difference between the world-class players and the okay players is often not ability. It's often the fact that they don't get too high and they don't get too low. They don't take the wins too seriously and they don't take the defeats too seriously. They're right in the middle.
Insane, isn't it?
They're able to stay calm around the whole thing, which is why they can perform.
Elite mindset, that.
Aye. Do you know what I mean? They don't get too carried away with the highs when they're playing really well, and they don't get too disappointed when they're having a fucking stinker. Where some people can let a stinker go the entire season, like a Jack Rodwell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and then some players will have an amazing, when they say they're a confidence player, when people, he's a confidence player, him, that means basically when he loses the ball, he loses his confidence. Whereas top class players never do that. They give the ball away, and do you know what I mean? They just try not to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mate, we've had the knock. So I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly.
Let's go. Give me a world-class question. Come on.
I want to know 2 things, please. I want to know the one greatest piece of, I know you're going to find that difficult, the one greatest piece of advice you've ever been given.
The answer to this will change if you ask me again tomorrow.
And the second question is, the rest of 2023, what's next for Paul Mort?
So, number one would be, right now in my head, I can only go with what's in my head right now and it'll change, is that what I had attention to, I have momentum to.
Yeah.
What I focus on, I feel. Where I have my attention, where attention goes, energy flows and results show. That's it. Attention is the transformation currency. You master attention, you master meaning, you master your life. Full stop. What's for the rest of this year for me? The main thing is getting the book done.
Oh yeah,
I've already started working on it. It's going to be around the whole living an electric life. It's going to be around the whole mind vitamin thing. Read a little bit every day. Getting that finished and then a publishing deal so it's on the shelves. I want it on the shelves this time. I'm not willing to even sign a book deal unless they can get it on shelves.
Incredible.
I'll just, if someone can't guarantee me that I'm going to get it on shelves, I'll self-publish it.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
That's the biggest thing for me. Obviously, I've got a lot more going on.
Making magic moments.
Making magic moments. I'm trying to think what I've got predicted. 3 weeks in the US in the summer, Vegas, LA, New York. Got some cool things planned around them. We've got what we've got. Loads of shit happening with magic moments. I've got so many I can't.
Mate,
yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure. I just want to take the time again to say, thank you very much for allowing me to use your studio.
My pleasure.
What an experience. I'm sure it won't be the last time that we do this. The next thing I want to say is, mate, like I said to you earlier on in the show, this 100th episode always had your name
on it.
I
love it, brother. I appreciate that, and I'm honoured.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
But if people want to come find out more about what you do, where can they come and find you?
Well, there's only one Paul Mort.
There's only one Paul Mort.
There's only one Paul Mort. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Apparently, I'm on TikTok. Apparently, I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm on all these platforms. Instagram's my favourite platform, so that's probably the place where I'll connect with you the most.
Incredible. This has been episode 100
Come on!
of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy, and today's guest, Mr. Paul Mort.
Yes,
official.
thank you so much for tuning in.
You're welcome. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please go over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review. It will mean the world to both of us. And if you really enjoy it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You'll catch me with a new episode on Mondays and Fridays.
Doing it, come on!
All very soon. Take care.